Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's not joining us. And today, this is not the knife we are reviewing, but I did already do a review on this. I just wanted to talk about the giveaway we are doing on the Patreon. We're going to try to do monthly giveaways as much as we possibly can. So if you want to be involved in monthly giveaways, please become a patron. You can become a Patreon for about 10 cents a day, which is like $3 a month, or even like 17 cents a day, which is like $15 or $5 a month. Ha! Anyways, so if you want to be a part of monthly giveaways, please become a Patreon. This knife is the Kubi Nova. This will be our first giveaway. We'll be giving this away. Not our first, but this will be one of our giveaways, which will be about next week. And then also, if you don't want to do that, we do still do regular giveaways on the channel. Our next mile marker will be 2,500 subscribers, and we'll be doing a giveaway then. But if you want a chance to win monthly stuff, this is a very cool knife. Kubi Nova. Check out the review if you want to. Now, our review is going to be on an artisan knife, and I will say right off the rip, this is going to be a negative review, but I would like you to stay here because I think this is a very important review. This will show a lot of things that you can maybe see in your own knives or maybe in purchases. So I'm very happy that I got to check this knife out, which is the Artisan Bombardier. And the reason why, even though it is going to be a little bit negative, this is all my opinions, but because it might be able to help you in the future with looking at knives and seeing certain things. So right off the bat, this knife is overall 8 7/8, so it's just under 9 inches with a 3 3/4 inch blade. Let's do quick size comparisons. Here is the, you know what, I was going to do a different knife, but here is the Hogue Ritter RSK. And then let's do the Spyderco Shaman and Benchmade Griptilian. You can see this is a longer knife, or a larger knife. Okay, so now let's get to the good and bad. This is D2 steel, G10 handles, deep carry pocket clip with some nice nestled in milled out steel liners. Okay, so like I said, there is a lot of bad going on here, and I'll explain all that in just one second. The action is more of a push button because you kind of need to go downward like that, which isn't bad. The action is actually pretty good. You can just drag your finger down, but you got to nestle it. Sorry for hitting the camera. You got to nestle it like down into here, as you can see, which does actually feel kind of unique. So that's actually kind of a cool thing. But you do kind of gotta not really get used to it, but you just gotta, you know, do it, I guess. Push button. Doesn't really like the light switch because unless if you get down and you drag your finger down in that slot like that. Okay, so the hole does not work. I mean, you can get it, but it's not very comfortable, not fun at all. And you see, I can get it, but it's not something you're gonna be trying to do. The thumb just does not work. I mean, you can get it, but it's not enjoyable at all, and it's not reliable. I mean, when I get it, my finger isn't really holding on to the knife very good, so it's very likely it could fall out of my hand. Okay. So I did sharpen this. I did check it out. I did use it, and I will say that one thing that this thing is very good at is stabbing. So for puncture, things that, you know, you're going to be using puncture for whatever reason, you're going to be stabbing into things, this thing is awesome. And anything you're going to be using a tip for, this would be great. So you could use the tip, but that's about all you're really going to get out of it. This thing's about 40 thousandths behind the edge. It's very thick. I mean, it's stupid thick. It doesn't even make sense how thick it is, especially with how thick the blade stock is. Let me show you really quick. Here is the Benchmade Griptilian, which has a nice thick blade already, and it is thicker than the Benchmade Griptilian. And you see how much more distance it has to drop. So the Shaman is another one that has a nice thick blade stock, and you'll see it's even thicker than that. yeah, it's either about the same thickness or a little bit thicker than the Shaman. But look at how much room the Shaman has to drop. And the Shaman's known for being pretty thick behind the edge too. Nowhere near as thick as this though. So, very, very thick behind the edge. When I sharpened it, the problem is, since it's so thick behind the edge, in order for me to get a nice keen edge, I'm going to have to lay the edge back pretty far. Like you see how I did on the Shaman, how big of a bevel it's got. You see how big that is? This is even smaller because I just followed the factory edge. This isn't my knife. And also, really quickly, I'm kind of stupid. What an ass of me. Thank you to our Patreon that sent us this knife for letting us review this. Even though in my opinion this is a negative review, I enjoy doing reviews like this. This helps me teach so many people so many different things, and sometimes this is the most beneficial kind of reviews. A lot of people only like to review knives that they like and enjoy. I think that's, in my opinion, a negative for my channel personally. I want to show you the things that to watch out for. So thank you to our Patreon, and also for paying for the shipping and everything. I mean, that's just awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is a Tonto, but it's a Tonto that you can use the tip on, which is pretty cool because a lot of Tontos just go right up like that. So you're going to use this as your tip instead of up here. But this one makes it to where you can do both, kind of. But the problem is to get to the secondary edge, you can't really get to because of how big the flipper tab is. So you can get to it, especially if, you know, like it's off of something, you know, to where it's in front of you, if you know what I mean, where it's not like on a table like this, but where you're actually going up to it. Then you can use the secondary edge. But on a flat surface, it's not going to be very easy, but you can always just use the tip. So, and that is what this thing's good for. And for penetrating, since it does have this big flipper tab, you know, you can get a lot of leverage on it, and it's actually pretty balanced and very wieldy, I guess for puncturing and stuff like that. It's got a decent reverse grip. But that's basically, in my opinion, what this is for, is just for stabbing. The sharpening choil is done okay. It's like, you see where it's at, pretty decent. Now another negative, I'm sure you see that right there, the rust spots that are right here. I am going to clean it off, and because I like to ship knives back better than they came. So I am going to clean it, and it'll be all oiled up when it goes back to them. But it is starting to pick up rust already. I didn't cut anything that would have done that. And I did oil the knife. But I did not scrub the blade or clean the blade off or anything. And not scrub, but, you know, you're supposed to oil your steel anyway. So it might be just something like that. But you'll notice it's happening in a lot of places. Maybe the owner didn't dry it off after cutting something that had acids in it. I don't know. But the handle, nice G10. It's decent G10. Artisan uses pretty good G10. The clip is one of their standard budget knives clip. It's a deep carry clip. The clip works fairly decent. It is a little aggressive on this material, maybe for certain pants, but not that big of a deal. It is T8s and T6s. There we go. T8s and T6s. Now, one of my other big gripes is this liner. I do not like this liner. It seems so basic. I noticed this also on the budget Artisan Shark we had. It had a liner a lot like this, and I did not like it. I hated it. I hated the liner. The one on the Artisan was just... There was a lot of different things. We have a review on it if you want to check it out. But that was one of my biggest gripes. And then even after the review, I just continued to dislike it more and more. But yeah, it's so straight up and down. There's no chamfer here, nothing. It's just a bar. I don't know if that makes sense. So when you push it, you basically just have like a straight bar to your finger. It's not, there's no chamfer, no jimping, no nothing. And I just think it looks cheap. And it has good lockup. It's not that it's not useful. It's just I don't like it, and that is my opinion. I think it looks cheaply made, and it's not comfortable. So I don't like how uncomfortable it is. Now, the grip on this thing is nice, though. You do have pretty good grips with it. That's not that big of a deal. The blade shape is a little wacky looking, but good for piercing. This thing does not cut good at all. Pushing it through materials is, you got to put a lot of pressure. And even though you have good ergos, it just does not go through materials very nicely. And going back to this edge, you know, sharpening it, it didn't take a very good edge. And I know it's because I need to lay it back, and I didn't lay it back. I just followed the factory, and it's not sharp at all. I know it's even coming from the factory. It's not that sharp, in my opinion. I would have to lay it back, but then I'd have to lay it back to a point to where it might not even look good, if you know what I mean, because it'll have such a big bevel compared to the width of the blade, which would look kind of ugly. If you look even on a knife like this, like, see how big that is compared to how tall the blade is. Now, it doesn't look that bad on this, but this is less thick than this. You know, I know it's a shorter blade too, but if you understand what I'm saying, in order to lay this back, it'd be a big bevel, and then that's the only way to really make it a sharp edge, in my opinion. It's just such a steep drop off. It drops off so fast that it's more like a wedge more than keen. You know, you want an edge to be nice and keen, and in this way it's like this, so it's kind of hard to make that keen, and it doesn't really go through materials very easily. But yeah, you know, so between the rust, and which I can clean off, and it is D2, so, you know, maybe the rust isn't that big of a deal, because, you know, you just got to be careful with it. Maybe it just wasn't oiled and taken care of. But, you know, I have seen other budget artisans doing that, and I will say CJRB is really cool. But this is just my opinion now, a lot of the budget artisans, not the CJRBs, the budget artisans, I was never really impressed with, but the CJRBs I'm very impressed with. So it is what it is. But yeah, so between just the fact that, you know, it really only works for puncturing, so the only thing you're really getting at is stabbing. You could do light EDC stuff, but if you want it to be a good cutter, you got to lay back the edge. There's no finger choil or anything. You can't put your finger there. The action is okay, but you can't really use this hole. I mean, it just sucks. Yeah, so to me, I find very minimal uses out of this knife. Peace.